What's up, everybody? It's Bear with BearIndependent.com, and I just wanted to talk to you briefly today about getting back to basics. And we are going to be doing a series here on getting back to basics. I mean, basic stuff: food storage, how to, how much; water collection, how to, how much; sanitation, how to, how much; bugging out, where to, how to, when to, how much; so forth and so on. But it occurred to me that we should at least address the concept of getting back to basics before we address anything else. And so to that end, I wanted to at least espouse my theory on why so many people feel the need to get back to basics right now. And it comes down to predictability, I believe. And what I mean by predictability is that when things are good, when society is just humming right along, the stability that predictability brings allows us to engage in specialized labor. We can, not everybody needs to be their own policeman and their own teacher and their own doctor and their own farmer. We have specialized labor, and it's the complexity of our society, the very fact that there's a critical mass of people that all more or less agree on the same morals and ethics, that allows us to engage in specialized labor. And that stability breeds predictability. And that stability and predictability, I believe, is predicated on having shared morals and ethics. We all agree, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not happiness itself, the pursuit of. All men, not all men of a certain color. Everybody. Life and liberty, not we're going to put a jackboot on your neck. We're going to allow you to freely make the mistakes that you need to make so that you can course correct, learn, and then grow and be prosperous, right? Those types of ideals create a dangerous yet free society that allows people, when they all agree that these are the rules that we're going to play on, to engage in specialized labor, and that creates stability. Right now, we as a country are experiencing a massive undermining of the stability that we've thus far enjoyed as a nation, or at least for the last, I'd say since World War II, at a minimum, enjoyed as a nation. I believe that's intentional. Getting back to the concept of shared morals and ethics, that's not something that really takes place in the United States anymore. And more or less, people trend in one direction or another. Two camps, the two-party system, so forth and so on. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm grilling chicken breasts in beef bacon fat because I'm a genius, and yes, you should be jealous. But the intentional divide of the left versus right, that false narrative, that false paradigm, we see playing out right now, that there are people who are intentionally trying to undermine the shared morals and ethics that we as an American society have come to depend on to create the stability that allows us to engage in specialized labor and be prosperous. I think that's intentional. But when that stability goes away, the complexity of the society that we enjoy also, to a greater or lesser extent, goes away. When you are worried about how you are going to perform security for your household because the police have either been defunded or their commanding officers are telling them they cannot do the job that they swore an oath to do, that means that you, as a private citizen, no longer have the luxury of farming out the protection of your people to somebody else. So now you must do that. So if you are spending your time to do that, there's a lot of other things that you are not spending your time doing. You're not inventing new products or developing new processes or hiring new people or advancing new technologies, the complexity of society diminishes as we diminish our shared morals and ethics. Meaning that we have to go back to basics as individuals. We have to determine how we are going to protect our people, how we are going to feed our people. This is the militant farmer concept. Literally, here's a spatula and a Glock, okay? There it is, right there, okay? Militant farmer concept. How are you gonna protect your people? How are you gonna feed your people? How are you going to collect water? How are you going to engage in appropriate levels of sanitation so that you foster health within your gates, within your camp, within your tents? How are you going to communicate? How are you going to teach your people, whether they be young people, intermediate people, or old people? Where will you bury your dead? How will you bury your dead? Who do you need to know in your area? Know that they are good, know that they are bad, know that they are moderates. All of these things, basic things that until right now, until perhaps 6 months ago, most people never gave a second thought to. And I don't think many preppers or people who are into preparedness gave a real serious thought to, because it was all theory until about March of 2020. And now we find ourselves living the actuality that the predictability of society is being undermined. It's going away, which requires us to get back to basics, to ask those big questions, and to have at least adequate answers to those questions. I don't know isn't going to cut it, because if there are marauders at your gates and you can't call the sheriff's department, you have the rest of your life to figure out how you're going to solve that problem. If there's no more food at the grocery store and you don't know how to grow food, harvest food, hunt food, fish for food, scavenge and forage for food, raise up calories out of the ground, you have the rest of your life to figure out how you're going to solve that problem. So forth and so on. And so that is the thesis that the Back to Basics series will be predicated on. That as mutual morals and ethics continue to be eroded by this left-right false paradigm and or bad actors within these different wings of this same terrible bird that we find ourselves governed by, that as that continues to happen, the complexity of society necessarily will decrease and we will be required to go back to basics. Now, I'm bringing you this message on an iPhone, so clearly we're not back in the Stone Age, but it requires us to take a higher level of personal responsibility over the blessings that we've been gifted and apply leadership, stewardship, and headship over these things so that we can rule and subdue and make sure that the people within our purview are well taken care of, that we can act, not be acted upon. And so I would encourage you to stay tuned. There's a whole bunch of new information coming at you. There's also a whole bunch of information that we're going to go over again that has already been addressed in the Prepper Classroom, which you can find free on a playlist here on YouTube. If you found some value in this, please leave me a comment down below. Like, subscribe, share. That helps us in our ongoing battle against the YouTube algorithmic robots. And as always, you can click the baby bear. Catch us on Patreon. Patreon is the economic engine of the Bear Nation, and we could not and would not do this without y'all. Shalom.